Good day. You're listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is CJ Miller, and we are really making strides through this Doodle Book Club, reading the spiritual artist we are designed to create. We are more than halfway through the chapters, and we're dealing with the chapter today that's pretty serious. Actually, it's something that we as humans encounter and deal with most every moment of every day. So let's start with chapter 14. Quote, there can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. End quote. Carl Gustav Jung. Chapter 14, The Power of Emotion. As I held my thoughts at bay and explored this conversation with spirit, I noticed a second aspect of myself engaged in the creative process. My emotions. What exactly was this powerful energy flooding my body with joy, sadness, or anger? Where did it come from? And why did it change form so quickly? According to a Google search, emotions are neurophysiological reactions activated by an external or internal stimulus. Or to be more direct, emotions are a physical response from the body to a given situation or stimulus. I never made the connection before, but thoughts are from the mind. Emotions are from the body. I want to repeat that. I never made the connection before, but thoughts are from the mind. Emotions are from the body. Emotions are the raw human response to a given situation, and they are one way our body communicates to us. What exactly are emotions? As a child, I was constantly told that I was too emotional and asked to rein in my animated expressions. I became self conscious about them and tried to control them, but they were often so powerful that I couldn't. They were sometimes so forceful that I couldn't concentrate when a strong one came along. In my effort to control emotions, I would play back recent events in my mind, seeking the source of their being. While some origins of my emotions were easily traced back to a particular conversation, I found that the source of many of my emotions remained elusive. We often try to trace back our feelings to the root causal thought. This habit is dangerous territory. When we examine our subconscious critically, we are reverting to self examination, judgment, and critical thinking. I realized that when I spent time analyzing the source of my emotions, I was stepping back into my mind, a place I wanted to avoid while creating art. I believe that we have another choice. We can stay the watcher and surrender to the emotion by feeling it completely. Better yet, we can use that emotion as a tool in the studio. Let's revisit my conversation with theater director, teacher, and actor Terry Martin and the Meisner technique. According to Terry, he encourages his students to seek a pivotal place when they are truly present in the moment and access their impulses. He does this by describing emotions as motion, energy in motion. Because they are constantly changing, emotions are powerful but momentary. By accessing these emotions, his actors find a way to tell a story in their unique way. He cautions that emotions only create a block if they are restrained. For example, my attempts to silence my emotions prevented me from accessing my mind and held me in a painful state. He teaches his students to understand the emotional journey by accepting their emotions. Quote, give yourself over to spirit and trust that these emotions and feelings will lead you to a greater creative expression. You should welcome emotion and let it move through you because it is taking you somewhere else. And it is what is beyond where you stand, feel, or are now that the new creative impulse lies. If you let it freeze you, you'll never get to that next impulse, which is the deeper next step of creative expression. Spirit is bringing it to you, as it can only come through you. Consciousness leaves a mark. No other person will respond to these emotions and that feeling like you do. End quote. According to Terry, holding back your emotions is like holding a glass of water. At first, lifting the glass is easy, but the longer you hold that glass of water, the heavier it becomes. Your arm will begin to ache, and soon you will become paralyzed with the effort of holding a single glass of water. Overwhelm occurs when we try to stop the flow of emotion or ignore it. Terry emphasizes that an artist needs to have deep feelings about things. They are expected to be highly sensitive and feel deeply. Like Terry, I believe that it is through emotion that the artist lets a story unfold on the canvas. Recently, I experienced some incredible losses in my professional and personal life. I've owned and operated my advertising agency for more than 20 years. As part of my marketing strategy, the agency contracts with companies on a yearly retainer basis. The retainer guaranteed a fixed monthly income for me and afforded the client a uniform budget. Within 1 month, and for reasons beyond my control, all three of my most significant and long-standing retainer clients had to cancel their contracts. The situation was simply unprecedented in the history of my company. While we had braved the storm of 9/11 and the 2008 economic crisis, we had never lost all major sources of revenue at one time. With several of my loyal employees' salaries at stake, the situation brought me incredible stress. I was feeling overcome by loss and fear. But that wasn't all. At the same time, my father was battling Alzheimer's disease. He was becoming difficult to manage and began wandering in the evenings. His condition created incredible stress for my mother and the rest of my family, and the pressure kept piling on. My life partner had just made a career change after more than 18 years of working in the same industry. Every single aspect of my life was changing. Day after day, I experienced a new loss where I felt like I was being physically assaulted. I'm an avid koi enthusiast, and the peak of this emotional crisis occurred when some of my largest and oldest koi began dying for no apparent reason. I would find yet another koi dead at the bottom of my pond each day. When my third and very favorite koi was discovered, I was overwhelmed by heartache, sadness, and anguish. My lungs felt weighed down. I felt that I couldn't take a deep breath. But then I had an inspiration. I remembered how I had learned to accept these emotions as a spiritual artist. Rather than resist them, I approached my canvas with intentional presence and let them flow. I chose to consciously observe my emotional state. I cleared 1 hour in my schedule, locked myself in my painting studio, and turned on some of my favorite sad music, a playlist by Damien Rice. I stood before my canvas, brush in hand, and painted, and the passion, the movement simply flowed through me. At times, I wept. I didn't try to control the composition, the color palette, or even the stroke style. I felt deeply and I expressed what I felt. It was cathartic. As a spiritual artist, I learned to let my emotions take me to a more profound creative expression. I felt the anguish in my brushstrokes and my subconscious choice of color and composition. After more than an hour of painting, I felt such an incredible sense of relief and discovered a different painting style. I'm not claiming that my life challenges were suddenly gone, but they had been expressed, and my emotional state began to shift. I went from sadness to anger to relief. My emotions had transformed through the creative process, and I had completed a work of art. This technique doesn't only work for heavy emotions, it works for all emotions. A spiritual artist learns to ride the wave of sensation, both uplifting and dark. Remember, your emotions are not you. They are not that calm, all-knowing presence at your spiritual center, but they do need to express themselves. Terry challenges his actors to be willing to stand in those emotions, get angry, be sad. No one is going to judge you because deep feeling is your job. Part of being a spiritual artist is to be willing to stand in the tension of the moment and step into the fire. Let it go through you. Take that energy to your craft, the studio, or the discipline of choice, and discover where it takes you. He challenges us to live the role or make the painting with our authentic selves. Quote, spiritual people find a way of letting these things that are difficult and painful lead us to something beautiful. It always leads to something beautiful. So let us get on with finding the beauty. Be pissed off, be scared, be mad, but don't stay that way. End quote. After my studio experience, I wondered what would become of my somber painting. I hesitated before including it in my next show. The irony? It was one of the first paintings to sell at my next exhibition. One woman made a beeline directly to that painting and exclaimed how much it moved her. When we create authentic work, it resonates with others. Emotions are energy and should be used to propel the creative process. I liken the creative experience to taking a voyage. The ocean symbolizes limitless possibilities at destinations. The ship represents what the individualized expression known as you brings to the process. The sail is your intention, and the mighty wind behind the sail is your emotions. The wind may come and go. One moment it's a breeze and the next a gale, but it cannot be controlled. Just let the motions take you on a fantastic voyage. While thoughts can hold us back from our true potential, emotions also connect us to others. Emotion is our connection to all that is. It is through emotion that we realize our connection to creative intelligence and other human beings. Emotions are an incredible spiritual tool to connect us with other people, but only when we allow them to pass freely. If we try to hold on to them, worse yet, we begin to identify with them. They separate us from others. When I drive down the street and see someone asking for change on the corner, I have the decision to see them and feel their situation or look away. When I look away and choose to reject my emotional response, I am denying my spirit. As spiritual artists, we paint with unification in mind, and emotion is our universal language. Our goal is to create something that transcends our separation and acknowledges our oneness, while love is the consciousness of creative intelligence. Emotions are our connection to the spirit in others. Rabbi Rami Shapiro, in his book titled The Sacred Art of Loving Kindness, gives another interpretation of the meaning of our emotions. Loving kindness is a term from a 1535 translation of the Bible and is defined as giving oneself entirely to love and compassion. According to Shapiro, emotions build our compassion for others. He describes this fearless compassion as the third of the 13 acts of loving kindness. Quote, when I am compassionate toward myself and others, I am free to be fully engaged in what is happening with them and between them and myself. I can allow for all the feelings that the situation conjures, yet I am not trapped by the feelings or the situation. I am a mirror on which the emotions of the moment play out. But when the moment passes, the mirror retains nothing. This is true compassion, reflecting all and retaining none. When you are open to all of your feelings, you realize that you feel all that another feels. A whole heart is a heart open to and welcoming of the full range of a human emotion. This does not mean that you are free to act on your feelings. It only means that you are free to feel them. And when you do, you have compassion for neighbor and stranger alike, for you know their heart is your own. End quote. Understand that you are not your emotions, yet they connect you with others. Let them flow through you and take you on an emotional journey, but don't identify with them. Like the powerful but ever-changing wind behind your sails, they will take the spiritual artist to exciting new destinations. So this was a great chapter, and there's so much we could talk about with emotions. And I find that when I teach students painting, I love to use emotions as a tool that we take into the studio because we when we let ourselves feel what we're feeling, we are our human and spiritual selves together at once. So I love this part in the book, and I rereading it, noticed it. And I want to emphasize this as we conclude this chapter. Part of being a spiritual artist is being willing to stand in the tension of the moment and step into the fire. Let it go through you. So, what I'm saying there is part of being a spiritual artist is to not hold back from feeling what it means to be human. If you tend to box up your emotions or hold them back or put them in a box on the shelf in the closet, you're not really giving 100% of yourself to your art or to your humanity. And it is scary. There's no doubt the emotions that we feel, the emotions that we're feeling all the time when we see the media, when we hear news, when we talk to others, when we see the suffering in this world, they affect us. But the key is to not push them away or deny them. It's not easy. No one said it would be easy to be a spiritual artist, but it is rewarding and it does bring connectivity. So today, as the day goes on, I want you to go into your studio and maybe go find a song right now. I would love for you to go find a song. And as an end to this doodling project, find a song that means a lot to you, something that resonates in your memory, and play it while you finish doodling for another 5 minutes. So do that for me. Go find your favorite song. And if you'd like, leave it in the notes. Write down, what is your favorite song? What song has moved you consistently throughout the years? And better yet, what emotion do you feel when you hear that song? I'm looking forward to continuing on tomorrow. Thank you for joining me on this doodling exercise. Have a great day. Step into the fire of being a spiritual artist. Talk to you soon.
Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.